That day, Chen Mingsheng was invited to Bai Ji's house for dinner. When he arrived, only Bai Ji was in the house. The table was already set for dinner. Bai Wei wasn't there, and even the maid who cleaned the house was absent. Brother Bai, Chen Mingsheng, relied on his crutches to make it over. Bai Ji gestured to the spot next to him, saying, "Sit." Chen Mingsheng sat down. Bai Ji was smoking. Seeing Bai Ji stay silent, Chen Mingsheng didn't feel it was appropriate to speak first. Finally, after a while, Bai Ji broke the silence. "Ah Ming, why so quiet?" Chen Mingsheng was unsure of Bai Ji's purpose for inviting him over this time. He asked, "What should I say?" Bai Ji asked, still mad. Chen Mingsheng didn't say a word. Bai Ji spoke again. "As you know, we live on the edge doing what we do. There's nothing unexpected or impossible. Don't blame me." Chen Mingsheng muttered, "I don't." Bai Ji said, "Ah Ming, there's a connection between us. I treat you differently than the others." Chen Mingsheng turned his head to look at Bai Ji. A connection? Indeed, the word connection seemed so ironic when it came up. Bai Ji had gotten somewhat older. The first time Chen Mingsheng had met him, Bai Ji was middle-aged, but his eyes still had a vibrant spark. Now Chen Mingsheng could clearly see signs of aging in him. Chen Mingsheng lowered his gaze to his crippled leg, silent. No one can escape the passage of time. As time goes by, everyone bears their fair share of scars. "Ah Ming, I regard you as my brother," Bai Ji said. Chen Mingsheng replied softly, "I know." "So Ah Ming, you can't ever lie to me," Bai Ji said. "Otherwise I will kill you." Chen Mingsheng's heart felt like an unfathomable abyss. He nodded gently and said, "I know. Have you been taking drugs?" Chen Mingsheng jerked his head up to look at Bai Ji. Bai Ji continued to smoke, saying nonchalantly, "In this business, you should know what you can touch and what you can't." Chen Mingsheng pressed his lips together, lowered his head, then raised it again. His voice was a bit hoarse. "Brother Bai, did you investigate me?" Bai Ji didn't deny it. Chen Mingsheng tried to rise with his crutch, but Bai Ji reached out and grabbed his arm, stopping him. "Sit down, Ming." Chen Mingsheng gritted his teeth. "Since you no longer trust me, there's no point in me sticking around. I'll tell you the truth. With my body in this condition and my heart weary, I've long since lost the will to continue this life. Rest assured, I'll find somewhere quiet to live and keep all your affairs a secret. And if you can't even trust me on this, it's better to just kill me." Bai Ji let out a sigh. "Ah Ming, let me finish." In that sigh, Chen Mingsheng heard a deep fatigue. He slowly sat back down. Bai Ji said again, "I treat you as a brother." The smoke vaguely shrouded Bai Ji's face. He said to Chen Mingsheng, "Ah Ming, let's do it next year." Chen Mingsheng asked, "Next year what?" Bai Ji replied, "Next year, we will pull off a big job. Then you can retire." Chen Mingsheng felt there was more Bai Ji wasn't saying. Sure enough, Bai Ji put down his cigarette, turned his head to Chen Mingsheng and said, "I'll give you money to take Wei and go abroad." Chen Mingsheng was taken aback. "What?" Bai Ji said, "I bought a house in the US in Texas." Bai Ji had a humble background and built up his fortune bit by bit through drug dealing. When he mentioned the house to Chen Mingsheng, his face showed a childlike enthusiasm. "Ah Ming, I tell you, these foreigners are indeed different from us. Their houses are much cheaper. I bought 2 villas directly, all well decorated. When you guys go there next year, take good care of Wei. Don't worry about the money." Chen Mingsheng asked, "What about you?" Bai Ji chuckled, "When I make enough money, I'll settle there in my old age." As he spoke, Bai Ji leaned back in his sofa, smoking and smiling. Chen Mingsheng looked at him. It took a while, but he finally nodded and said, "All right, pull off a big job next year, then retire." After a few times of snowfall, the end of the year came. The weather in the north got colder each day, with a thick layer of snow already covering the ground. The trees lining the roads had lost all their leaves. The air quality wasn't that good. A few days after a heavy snowfall, the once white canvas was covered with a thin layer of dust. People, wearing snow boots, made crunching sounds as they walked in the fresh snow. A festive spirit filled the air with the arrival of the Chinese New Year. Residential buildings, shops, hotels, and even street lamps adorned with red lanterns. When lit at night, they swayed in the snowy wind and cast a warm red glow. This was the laziest yet busiest day of the year. Young Zhao got up early in the morning to prepare meticulously. Today was New Year's Eve, and it was a tradition in the Yang family to have a family reunion. It's the day when everyone was available to get together. She got up in the morning and also woke up Yang Jinchen. For a student preparing for the college entrance examination, this was their last wild relaxation before the exam. Yang Jinchen had been sleeping in these past 2 or 3 days, which was rare for him. Since the winter break, he had been staying with Yang Zhao. When Yang Zhao asked if he wanted to stay with her parents for better care, Yang Jinchen refused outright. Yang Zhao got Yang Jinchen up, prepared breakfast for him, and brought a large bag into the room. Yang Jinchen rubbed his eyes drowsily. "Sis, what's this?" Yang Zhao replied, "Clothes, you'll wear this set tonight." Yang Jinchen took the bag, looked at the clothes, a well-tailored Chinese tunic suit. Yang Jinchen scratched his head. "Sis, did you buy this for me?" Yang Zhao said, "Yeah, I had it made for you. Try it on later." Speaking of this Chinese tunic suit, it must be mentioned that it was a preference of Yang Zhao's grandfather. Her grandfather, one of the few intellectuals and progressive young people of his generation, was fanatically fond of the Chinese tunic suit. His closet is filled with these suits, both wearable and not, taking up half of his wardrobe space. Now, he is old and hasn't many good years left, so in order to keep him happy during the New Year's dinner, everyone wears the Chinese tunic suit. Yang Jinchen yawned and went into the bathroom to change his clothes. He then came out and asked Yang Zhao, "Sis, how does it look?" After tidying up the bag, Yang Zhao looked up at him, then smiled and said, "Not bad." Getting praised by his sister boosted Yang Jinchen's spirits. "Let me fix my hair to look even more spirited," he excitedly told Yang Zhao, just like those male students from the Republic of China era in the history books. Yang Jinchen was much more energetic than before. Yang Zhao watched his cheerful face, feeling a bit of consolation in her heart. She was about to say something when her phone rang. Yang Jinchen watched as Yang Zhao took out her phone, looked at the number on the screen, and made no move to answer it. The phone continued to ring. Somewhat puzzled, Yang Jinchen asked, "Sis, who is it? Why aren't you answering the phone?" Yang Zhao seemed not to hear him. "Sis?" Yang Zhao snapped back, "Huh?" Yang Jinchen pointed to the cell phone. "Why aren't you picking up?" Oh, Yang Zhao appeared flustered. She told Yang Jinchen, You get ready first. I need to answer this call." Yang Zhao left the room and went back to her own bedroom, carefully closing the door behind her before answering the phone. "Hello?" On the other end of the line was a deep yet somewhat gentle voice. "Yang Zhao, it's me." Yang Zhao asked, "Chen Mingsheng?" Chen Mingsheng chuckled softly. "What, can't recognize my voice?" Yang Zhao asked, "Why are you calling me?" Chen Mingsheng replied, "Isn't it allowed?" Yang Zhao could hear that Chen Mingsheng's voice sounded rather casual, much more relaxed than before. It was infectious, and she felt herself relax. Yang Zhao went to the window. Outside, the courtyard was covered in snow. It was a bit foggy today, making the entire world a blurry white scene. She leaned on the window, feeling the faint chill emanating from the glass. "Chen Mingsheng, what are you doing?" Chen Mingsheng replied, "Calling you." Yang Zhao laughed. "What were you doing before you called?" "Preparing to call you," Chen Mingsheng responded. A smile curled at the corner of Yang Zhao's lips. She couldn't resist lowering her head as she said, "Chen Mingsheng, you seem to be really idle now." "What are you doing?" Chen Mingsheng asked. Yang Zhao wouldn't play the calling you game with him, she told him. "I'm preparing clothes for Zhao Ocean." Chen Mingsheng asked, "Going out?" "Yep," Yang Zhao said. "We're going out this afternoon and we'll go to my parents' place for dinner in the evening." Chen Mingsheng laughed and said, "New Year's Eve dinner?" "Right," Yang Zhao said. How are you spending tonight?" Chen Mingsheng said, "Not sure yet." Yang Zhao asked, "Don't you have a holiday?" Chen Mingsheng laughed. "What holiday?" Yang Zhao said, "Don't work too hard." "Don't worry about me, I'm fine," said Chen Mingsheng. "Is your parents' place far from yours? Are you taking your brother with you? A 4-person family gathering?" "No," Yang Zhao said, "there will be more people. It's a large gathering, and it's the most attended event in my family every year. My parents live not far from me." Yang Zhao mentioned an address and said, "If you drive," she came to a brief stop, seemingly amused by something. She laughed and said, "If I were driving, it would take about an hour. If it's you driving, maybe 20 minutes. Chen Mingsheng also laughed. "That's actually not far." Yang Jinchen was calling for Yang Zhao from outside the room. Chen Mingsheng heard this and said, "I'll let you go now. Go see your brother." "Okay." Chen Mingsheng said, "Happy New Year." Yang Zhao replied, "You too." Yang Jinchen knocked on the door cautiously. "Sis, Yang Zhao opened the door. I'm here, are you ready? Yes. Yang Jinshan stepped back, stood straight and asked, what do you think? Yang Zhao nodded. Very good. Yang Jinshan smiled. At 17 or 18, you're always beautiful. A bit naive, somewhat impulsive, often making mistakes, but still so beautiful. In the afternoon, Yang Zhao took Yang Jinshan back to their parents' house. Everyone would bring gifts for this gathering. Yang Zhao prepared a box of fine candies for Yang Jinshan, knowing other kids would attend the gathering. Yang Zhao herself brought a bottle of red wine. She had been in a good mood ever since answering Chen Mingsheng's call, and she picked the best bottle of red wine from her wine rack. By 5:30 p.m., Yang Zhao arrived on time. A line of cars was parked at the entrance. Yang Zhao recognized some of the brands belonging to her relatives. To welcome the guests, Yang's father and mother had thrown the doors open wide, with 2 red lanterns and a spring festival couplet hanging at the entrance. The sound of firecrackers hadn't ceased since morning. As the evening approached, the firecrackers became even more intense, making the festive atmosphere increasingly lively. Yang Zhao led Yang Jinshan into the house, where Yang's mother was waiting at the entrance. Seeing Yang Zhao, she smiled and said, Zhao Zhao, why are you so late? I was preparing clothes for him. Yang Zhao pointed at Yang Jinshan. There was no such thing, grumbled Yang Jinshan under his breath. Yang's mother laughed and said, come in quickly and wish your grandfather a happy new year. Okay. Upon entering the house, Yang Zhao and Yang Jinshan found that quite a few people had already gathered in the living room on the first floor. The elderly were seated on the sofa, while the parents were chatting by a table on the side. No children were on the first floor. They were all upstairs. Yang Zhao spoke to Yang Jinshan. Zhaotian, go to Grandpa to wish him a happy new year first, then go upstairs. Yang Jinshan straightened his clothes, then walked over to the sofa to greet the elderly. Yang Zhao's grandfather was almost 90 years old. He squinted to look at Yang Jinshan, recognizing the child. He beckoned Yang Jinshan to come closer. Yang Jinshan went over, and Yang Zhao's grandfather asked about his recent condition. After a good while, he finally handed him a red envelope and let him go. When it was Yang Zhao's turn to greet her grandfather, he told her, Zhaotian is a poor child. As his older sister, you should take good care of him. Yang Zhao bowed her head in agreement. Dinner began promptly at 6:30 p.m. Almost 40 people, all direct relatives of the Yang family, had gathered in the house. They were divided across 3 tables, with Yang Zhao sitting at the second. Grandpa officiated the meal, delivered a toast, and drank the first cup of wine. His toast, carrying the verbosity and obscurity typical of old scholars, was incomprehensible to the younger generation. But no one dared to interrupt, and no one even dared to put their hands on the table before Grandpa finished speaking. Once he was finally finished, everyone couldn't wait to dig into their food. Yang Zhao glanced over at Yang Jinshan. He was sitting with the children at the 3rd table and played the role of the big brother there. He shared the candies he brought with a few kids, who were all beaming with joy. Yang Zhao also smiled. The sound of firecrackers outside was intermittent, and the dinner table gradually livened up. Yang Zhao poured a glass of wine, preparing to toast the elder. However, just as she was about to stand up, her phone vibrated. Yang Zhao thought it might be a New Year's text message from Zhu Mai. They don't celebrate Spring Festival. Knowing they couldn't attend Yang Zhao's family gathering, Zhu Mai had decided to take a trip back to the company. Holding a glass of wine in one hand, Yang Zhao took out her phone. She glanced at the message and was taken aback instantly. The sound of firecrackers, the noise of the banquet, the cheerful congratulations. All other sounds ceased in her world. What Yang Zhao could see were the short lines, fill yourself up, then come out and meet me. Yang Zhao kept looking at the string of numbers on the screen, verifying them over and over, until a relative next to her nudged her and asked, Yang Zhao, are you all right? Why are you daydreaming? Without having time to say anything, Yang Zhao put down her wine glass and left the dining table. Everyone was engrossed in their meals, nobody noticed her. Yang Zhao made her way to the door and put on her shoes. As she was pulling up the zipper of her boot, she failed multiple times because her hand was shaking slightly. She pushed the door open, and a gust of cold wind blew in. Yang Zhao squinted her eyes. She was panting, exhaling white fog with each breath. The firecrackers outside were getting louder. Yang Zhao slowly closed the door and moved forward, clutching her phone in her hand. She turned her head and suddenly saw a red taxi parked around the corner. Yang Zhao's heart was beating uncontrollably fast. She took a few quick steps towards the car. Just as she got to the corner, Yang Zhao's arm was suddenly grabbed. She let out a gasp and a strong force pulled her to the side. Just as she was about to shout, the familiar feeling of the arm around her waist interrupted her. Chen Mingsheng was leaning against the wall with one hand around her waist and the other on her hip. Lowering his head, he smiled at the still shocked Yang Zhao and teased in a low voice, "Did you get full so quickly?" Yang Zhao stared at that familiar face, stunned for quite some time. Chen Mingsheng slightly squeezed her waist and said, "Don't you recognize me anymore?" Only then did Yang Zhao come to her senses. She widened her eyes at Chen Mingsheng, too surprised to speak. Chen Mingsheng asked, "What's wrong?" "Yang Zhao, why are you back?" Chen Mingsheng replied, "Can't I come back?" "Not that." Yang Zhao still didn't understand the situation as she opened her mouth, and after a while repeated, "Why are you back?" Chen Mingsheng slackened his grip, leaned against the wall, and pretended to be disappointed. "What, you don't want me to come back?" Chen Mingsheng stopped mid-sentence, because his mouth was covered. With both hands on his cheeks, Yang Zhao kissed him fiercely. The snow was falling, and New Year's Eve was coming. All the words she didn't have time to say, all her longing, melded with the snow and this intense kiss. Chen Mingsheng quickly responded to her. Today's temperature was nearly 20 degrees below zero. The world was a frozen, icy landscape, awfully cold. Yet the two people kissing each other in the corner felt unimaginably heated. In this dark corner, they kissed until they were wild. They kissed until they forgot everything else. She lowered her head, leaning against Chen Mingsheng's chest, and asked softly, "That car, it's yours, right?" Chen Mingsheng hummed in agreement. Yang Zhao let go and pulled him along. Chen Mingsheng, leaning on his cane, was led by her to the car. "Open the door," Yang Zhao said. Chen Mingsheng seemed to understand Yang Zhao's intention. His gaze turned deeper. "Not now." He suppressed his own desire and said in a deep voice, "You're still having reunion dinner, Yang Zhao. I'm not leaving until tomorrow." "You should." "Open it," Yang Zhao suddenly said loudly. Chen Mingsheng closed his mouth obediently and opened the car door. Yang Zhao helped Chen Mingsheng get into the back seat. Even before Chen Mingsheng had pulled his cane in, Yang Zhao was leaning over, unbuckling his belt. The door was closed, and Yang Zhao had already undone his belt. Chen Mingsheng could no longer hold back either. He took off his coat. As always, he wasn't wearing much. A white shirt lay underneath his black jacket. Beneath that partially unbuttoned shirt, Yang Zhao saw a black undershirt. Yang Zhao's actions paused for a moment. Perhaps every tale of affection, every period of time, or every tiny story could find an object to encapsulate it, like her long skirt or his black undershirt, like the southern mountains or the northern snow, like their cigarettes or that dim oil painting. Outside, the sound of firecrackers was incessant, and through Chen Mingsheng's hair, Yang Zhao could see fireworks exploding in a myriad of colors across the sky. The car was cramped and dark, a completely sealed space where Yang Zhao and Chen Mingsheng could let loose in this restricted locale. Just as Chen Mingsheng's body tightened slightly, twitching as he reached the threshold of climax, Yang Zhao's phone suddenly rang. Chen Mingsheng immediately paused, and the phone rang a few times. Chen Mingsheng forcibly suppressed his desire, his face flushed with veins throbbing in his forehead. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was somewhat broken. "Answer it." Yang Zhao leaned over, waving her vibrating phone in front of Chen Mingsheng. With a forceful nudge, Chen Mingsheng insisted, "Answer it quickly." Yang Zhao stopped teasing him. Picking up the phone, she also calmed herself. "Hello?" On the other end was Yang Zhao's mother asking, "Zhao Zhao, are you not at home? I can't find you." Yang Zhao replied, I just stepped out to buy something." Her mother asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" "What do you need?" Yang Zhao said, "I'm just at the nearby supermarket, I'll be back soon." While Yang Zhao was on the phone, her gaze remained on Chen Mingsheng, whose eyes were filled with suppressed desire. Suddenly, his eyes seemed to change a bit, as if carrying a hint of playful mischief. As Yang Zhao was about to speak again, Chen Mingsheng gently nudged her. The pitch of Yang Zhao's voice changed, and she immediately covered her mouth. Her mother sounded a bit confused. "Zhao Zhao?" Yang Zhao shot Chen Mingsheng a glare, but Chen Mingsheng only slightly lifted his chin in response. Yang Zhao suppressed her laughter and assured her mother on the phone, "I'll be back soon." "Don't wait for me." Her mother replied, Okay, hurry back then. Yang Zhao affirmed before hanging up the call. After hanging up the phone, Yang Zhao wrapped her arms around Chen Mingsheng's neck, lifting herself slightly. She leaned into his ear and said softly, "Chen Mingsheng, you jerk." Chen Mingsheng replied, "Really?" After their passionate climax, Yang Zhao and Chen Mingsheng clung tightly to each other. Yang Zhao felt a bit drained. She nestled against Chen Mingsheng's chest and said, "I have to go back." Chen Mingsheng replied, Yang Zhao asked, "And you?" Chen Mingsheng said, "I'll wait for you outside." Yang Zhao gently stroked his nape, feeling a bit sad deep down. She wished she could bring him into the house and introduce him in front of her whole family. But she knew that wouldn't work. If she really did this, the laughter and chit-chat would cease immediately, and everyone would look at him with a mix of strangeness and confusion. She couldn't bear it. Yang Zhao buttoned her clothes, took a set of keys from her coat pocket, and handed them to Chen Mingsheng. "Wait for me at home," she said. Chen Mingsheng held the keys and started. "No need, I can just wait here." "Wait for me at home," Yang Zhao repeated. "The passcode for the unit door is 9231, and the password for the main gate is for 763. 4763? Chen Mingsheng echoed, then chuckled meaningfully after hearing the sequence of numbers. J4763, the very license plate number that sparked their acquaintance. Yang Zhao leaned in and gave a soft kiss to the corner of his lips, whispering, "Wait for me at home." Throughout the party that evening, Yang Zhao was preoccupied. The exquisite food on the table, the conversations amongst relatives, the laughter of children, it all seemed distant to her. Their thoughts, concerns, none of it could penetrate her thoughts. But she didn't feel lonely at all. While watching the smiles of others, she thought, "I have that too. I too have something that brings out involuntary smiles when I think about it. I too have someone whose name alone makes me smile. I do have it." So she found a strange way to communicate with them. They talked, and so did she. They laughed, and she laughed too, not forced, not insincere. But during these exchanges, it was as if a thin, transparent layer filtered each other's voice. Yang Zhao yearned to go home. The children's great-grandfather was elderly and couldn't stay up too late. He returned to rest before 10 o'clock. Yang Zhao's father took the responsibility of sending the older man home, and others stayed to usher in the new year. Taking advantage of the free time, Yang Zhao's mother came over to her. "Zhao, what are you sitting here alone for?" Yang Zhao smiled at her and said, "Nothing much. I just ate a bit too much." Her mother responded, "I didn't see you eat much. How could you have overeaten?" Yang Zhao replied, "That's because you didn't notice. I ate a lot." Her mother nodded. She didn't leave and sat steadily beside Yang Zhao. Yang Zhao glanced at her, and her mother said, Zhao, you seem a little distracted tonight." Yang Zhao lowered her head and softly said, "No, I'm not." Her mother continued, "I'm your mother. Can I be mistaken about my own daughter's feelings?" Yang Zhao didn't say anything. Her mother also remained quiet for a while. A sudden silence hung between mother and daughter. It said that a mother and daughter share a psychic bond, and gradually that silence evolved. They each knew what the other was thinking. Yang Zhao was waiting for her mother to speak, but her mother's expression was calm, without a hint of wanting to talk. In the Yang family, silence denoted a lack of value. Thus, silence led to a stalemate, and Yang Zhao had no intention of backing down. After a while, a relative came over and started chatting with Yang Zhao's mother. She engaged smoothly in the conversation, as if the previous incident hadn't happened. Yang Zhao stood up and left. Her mother watched her retreating figure in silence. "What's the matter?" The relative noticed her expression and also turned to look at Yang Zhao. "Nothing." Yang Zhao's mother smiled at her and said lightly, "My daughter is growing up." "Yes," agreed the relative, who also had a daughter. "When girls grow up, they become harder to manage. But Zhao takes after you, seeing things clearly, so you don't need to worry too much." Yang Zhao's mother simply responded, she'll figure things out." At midnight, everyone in the house welcomed the new year together. The hosts on the Spring Festival Gala were counting down. Yang Zhao lowered her head, covertly taking out her phone and composing a text message. 10, 9, 8. Yang Zhao finished writing the text, and an adept series of numbers was entered into the recipient field. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. The final second passed, and the sound of firecrackers outside suddenly intensified. Looking out the window, fireworks illuminated half the city. Everyone in the house brimmed with smiles, wishing each other well. Young Zhao pressed send gently. It was a simple text message, just like what everyone was saying to each other. Young Zhao wanted to wish him a happy new year. At 1:30 in the late night, Young Zhao packed up her things and returned home. Yang Jinchen initially wanted to accompany Yang Zhao home, but she refused. She asked him to stay. When he questioned why, she merely said, "I have something to do tonight." Driving her car on New Year's Eve, the city was sleepless. Though it was well past midnight, the streets were still bustling. People were setting off firecrackers, others were rushing around, and some were burning paper money at intersections. While waiting for a red light, Yang Zhao noticed an old man burning paper money at a crossroad. The winter wind in the north was strong, causing the burning paper fragments to flutter in the air, flickering with orange sparks before turning into ashes and dissipating. According to city regulations, burning paper money on the streets is prohibited. Yang Zhao had never burned paper money herself, but she didn't despise the act either. In fact, you could say she had a deep understanding and appreciation for the old-fashioned yellow paper and the orange flames it produced. That simple paper held the purest wishes of people. By the time Yang Zhao returned to the Huican Plaza, it was past 2 in the morning. She didn't want to disturb Chen Mingsheng's rest, but she had given him her keys and had no other choice but to ring the doorbell. Yang Zhao wasn't sure if he was asleep or not. She pressed the doorbell. Almost immediately, a voice came from inside, coming. The voice sounded just like Chen Mingsheng's normal tone, low and calm. Yang Zhao heard the alternating sounds of a walking cane and slippers. So, she thought, this is how it feels to stand outside, waiting for the door to be opened. With a soft click, Chen Mingsheng opened the door from inside. His gaze was lowered towards the lock as he opened the door. Then they gradually moved upward, finally resting on Yang Zhao, who was standing outside with her hands behind her back. Chen Mingsheng was without his jacket, wearing only a vest. The room was warm. Yang Zhao glanced to the side and said, "Oh, so you turned on the air conditioning." Chen Mingsheng chuckled and lazily replied, "It was cold." Yang Zhao asked, "Aren't you going to invite me in?" Chen Mingsheng moved aside, and as Yang Zhao entered, she raised her hand, swinging the plastic bag in front of him. The fragrance of food wafted from the bag. Yang Zhao asked, "Are you hungry?" At the mention of this, Chen Mingsheng started, "Is your refrigerator just for show? There's nothing in it." Yang Zhao replied, "There's water." Chen Mingsheng acknowledged with a nod and walked behind her with the support of his cane. Yang Zhao carried the plastic bag into the kitchen, and in no time, she had served the food on a plate. "I can warm it up for you," Yang Zhao offered. "No need," he replied, "it's not that cold." Before she knew it, an arm reached out and took the plate from her hands. He was tall, and Yang Zhao had to look up to see the plate being whittled away, helpless to stop it. At the dining table, Chen Mingsheng was devouring his food. Yang Zhao, sitting across from him, asked, "When did you get back?" Chen Mingsheng, his mouth full of food, replied, "This morning." Yang Zhao asked, "So that was before the phone call?" Chen Mingsheng laughed a little and nodded. Yang Zhao queried, "Was that to surprise me?" Chen Mingsheng casually glanced at her and questioned, "Were you surprised?" Crossing her arms, Yang Zhao replied coolly, "Yes, I was surprised." Chen Mingsheng chuckled, "Didn't look like it." Yang Zhao paused and didn't speak for a long time. Noticing this, Chen Mingsheng asked, "What's the matter?" After thinking for a moment, Yang Zhao asked, "Chen Mingsheng, do you think I'm very cold?" Chen Mingsheng was taken aback, not expecting Yang Zhao's sudden question. Shaking his head, he replied, "No, why would you think that?" Yang Zhao asked, "What did you feel the first time we met?" Holding his chopsticks, leaning against the chair back, Chen Mingsheng seemed to genuinely reminisce. Finally, tapping his chin, he said somewhat ceremoniously, "My first impression, you're very wealthy." Yang Zhao was rendered speechless. Chen Mingsheng picked up his bowl, spooning a few more mouthfuls of rice, then said, seriously, "That's it. Actually, I saw you even before you came upstairs." Downstairs, Chen Mingsheng explained, "I was standing in a corner next to a window. I saw you when you parked. I was thinking, I've hit a run of bad luck this time." Yang Zhao seemed puzzled. "Why?" Chen Mingsheng explained, "People like you, losing money is a trivial matter while suffering an injustice is a big deal. I thought for sure you'd either extort a large sum of money from me or drag me to court." Yang Zhao asked, "Did I extort money from you?" Chen Mingsheng was silent as he looked at her. He didn't, or rather, he didn't dare to speak. Yang Zhao remained expressionless. Finally, Chen Mingsheng spoke. Not really extortion, it was a small amount. Yang Zhao didn't respond. In fact, initially, she did indeed intend to give him a hard time. Chen Mingsheng, on the other hand, didn't care at all. He said, "It's really not considered extortion. I once scraped a small scratch like this on someone's car." Chen Mingsheng lifted his hand holding the chopstick, gripped it, then spread his thumb and index finger, indicating a length of about 5 to 6 centimeters, "and that person demanded 100,000 yuan from me." Yang Zhao asked, "Did you pay it?" Chen Mingsheng chuckled, "How could I?" Yang Zhao asked, "Then what happened? How was it resolved?" Chen Mingsheng's hand, midway through picking up food, paused. Perhaps recalling something, his gaze seemingly focused for a moment. He then looked at Yang Zhao, chuckling softly and said, "Nothing much, it just ended up that way." Yang Zhao didn't question any further. She watched his hand holding the chopsticks and mildly said, "Don't just eat meat, have some vegetables too." Chen Mingsheng nodded, "Okay." After finishing their meal and brushing their teeth, it was already 3 in the morning. They lay on the bed in the bedroom, Yang Zhao in her sleepwear, leaning against Chen Mingsheng's chest. She was very tired and drowsy. She didn't want to sleep, but her eyelids kept drooping. She distracted herself by talking to Chen Mingsheng. "Are you asleep?" "No," Chen Mingsheng replied. "Why don't you sleep? Aren't you tired given how late it is?" Yang Zhao asked. Chen Mingsheng said, "I'm fine." Chen Mingsheng's chest was broad and warm, like a giant whirlpool spring, enveloping Yang Zhao completely. She could smell the faint aroma of soap on him, along with the scent of tobacco that seemed laser-etched into his being. She was somewhat addicted to it. She said, "I drew a painting." "Really?" Chen Mingsheng asked, "What did you paint?" Yang Zhao said, "Nothing in particular." The noise from the firecrackers outside had lessened, but occasionally, sound still echoed from the deepest parts of the city. On a night like this, the content of their conversation wasn't important to them. The only thing that mattered was the process of talking. These conversations probably didn't pass through their minds but were spoken reflectively and slowly. Perhaps by the time the sun rose, they wouldn't remember what they had said or what the other had said. The only thing they would remember was that they had talked. During the lengthened New Year's Eve night, they held each other closely, their bodies heavy with fatigue. Once daylight came, they would part again. Yang Zhao never asked him when he would return, even though it was far longer than she had initially imagined. He had said that he would return when she completed a few tasks on hand. But Yang Zhao had finished her assignments early, and even when she had completed the additional tasks she had taken on, there was still no news from Chen Mingsheng. Winter had passed, and so had spring. Yang Zhao got accustomed to waiting. Or rather, sometimes she nearly forgot that she was still waiting. The painting she mentioned was long finished. Yang Zhao had it framed and locked it away in a cabinet. Only when she was searching for books or checking materials would she see that painting. Chen Mingsheng never returned after the New Year's Eve night, and there was no sign of him. Initially, when Yang Zhao saw the painting, she experienced an undefined sense of oppression. After some time, seeing it again induced a tint of sadness. Finally, by the time summer arrived and the pear trees were blooming along the streets, she would chance upon the painting stored in the cabinet, and her heart was quiet. Perhaps all feelings are like this. They start with a surge, intensify, and eventually return to normalcy. Starting from May, Yang Zhao no longer thought about Chen Mingsheng, because Yang Jinshen's college entrance exam was coming up. The countdown on the wall finally showed a number that one could count with their fingers. Yang Jinshen's grades had skyrocketed in just a few months, and with the exam approaching, he was so engrossed in studying that Yang Zhao had to persuade him to rest. The reason he was so diligent was because he saw hope. If there was no hope, then there would be no effort. Those who have complete control over their future lack motivation too. Only those who are still journeying, or those who have just discovered some guiding light, will struggle and work hard. During the final few days, teachers did not insist on intensive studying. Instead, they advocated for relaxation to avoid stress. 3 days before the college entrance examination, Shengxi Experimental School was on holiday. On the first night of the holiday, the class teacher held a small parent-teacher meeting, which Yang Zhao attended. At the meeting, Teacher Sun mainly talked about adjusting the student's psychological state during the final few days before the examination. She also gave advice about diet and reminded parents not to put too much pressure on their children. When the meeting ended, Teacher Sun specifically asked Yang Zhao to stay. She told her that the advice given earlier didn't apply to Yang Jinchen. He needed to continue to push himself, keep his last string taut until the very final subject. Yang Jinchen has made remarkable progress this last year, so he must stay strong until the end. At this critical juncture, the teachers of the exam classes too were equally anxious, their eyes wide open with intensity. If Yang Jinchen performs well, getting into a 985 Project University won't be a problem. Young Zhao wasn't deeply moved by her enthusiasm, but she still appreciated Teacher Sun's efforts. Don't worry, I'll definitely remind him. Great. Life had continued uneventfully. However, on the day of the exam, young Zhao realized she was indeed nervous. After all, regardless of what she said, in China, the college entrance exam is an incredibly crucial step for anyone. Yang Jinchen's examination center was located at No. 31 Middle School, quite far from Yang Zhao's home. When the exam center was announced, Yang Zhao asked Yang Jinchen if he wanted to stay somewhere closer. He said it wasn't necessary. Compared to Yang Zhao, Yang Jinchen seemed more relaxed. He would wake up every day at 6:10 a.m., rest at 11:30 p.m., and have a fixed 40-minute nap at noon. Yang Zhao admired his disciplined routine. From mid-May, she declined all her work to focus solely on accompanying Yang Jinchen for his college entrance exam preparation.